All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most exciting moments in a baby's first year. Crawling, right? It's that first real taste of freedom. And for parents, well, it's this wild mix of pure joy and just a little bit of panic. So let's dive into the art and the science behind this huge move. You're probably here because you're starting to see the signs, aren't you? You know, the little wiggles, the pushes, that constant rocking back and forth, and you're asking yourself, wait, is this it? Is my baby really about to start crawling? It's a time just filled with so much anticipation.
So the books will tell you the typical window for crawling is somewhere between 6 and 9 months. But, and this is a really big but, that is just a guideline, not some kind of strict deadline. And that actually brings us to a super important point about how we even think about this milestone.
Okay, so for decades, we've all thought of crawling as this, mandatory step on the developmental ladder. But is it really? The latest thinking on this might actually surprise you. This right here, this is a total game changer. Listen to this from developmental specialist Dr. Brenda Hussey-Gardner. The CDC has actually removed crawling as a required milestone. And why? Because a whole lot of research shows that not crawling doesn't really hurt a child's development down the road. So if you've been feeling even a little bit anxious about this, you can just take a nice, deep breath. So here's the new rule of thumb. It's not how your baby moves, it's that they're moving. Seriously, some babies skip the classic crawl altogether. They go straight to pulling up and walking. As long as they've figured out some way to get from point A to point B, they're doing just fine.
Now, even though it's not this mandatory thing anymore, most babies do end up crawling. And you know what? There are some pretty clear signs that they're getting ready to launch. Let's take a look at what we can call the building blocks of crawling.
As Dr. Chris Klunk explains, the journey to crawling actually begins months earlier. It's a whole process, you know? It's not some switch that just flips overnight. Your baby is basically training for this big moment, little by little, every single day.
So here's what that training usually looks like. First, during tummy time, they start propping themselves up on their little arms. Then, as they get stronger, they can push their whole chest right off the ground. That strength leads to rolling and flipping over. And then you see it, that classic sign, rocking back and forth on their hands and knees, kind of like they're revving up a little engine.
And after all that practice, all the propping and pushing and rocking, one day it just clicks. They figure out how to coordinate their arms and legs to actually move forward, and boom, just like that, you've got a mobile baby on your hands.
So what can you actually do to support this whole process? I mean, while babies will often figure it out all on their own, there are some really simple and effective ways you can encourage them along the way.
Okay, the absolute foundation for crawling is tummy time. Think of it like a baby's personal weightlifting routine. The American Academy of Pediatrics says you can start right from birth. Just a few short, supervised sessions a day, we're talking 3 to 5 minutes each, will help build all those essential neck, back, and shoulder muscles. And hey, remember, tummy time on your chest totally counts too.
Here is a fantastic practical tip from Dr. Hussey-Gardner. When your baby is on their tummy and their little legs are bent, just place the palms of your hands against their feet. It gives them a nice firm surface to push off from, and that helps them learn that feeling of forward motion. It's such a simple little thing, but it can really help.
And please remember, this should never feel like a chore. Turn it into a game. Put a favorite toy just out of their reach to give them a little motivation. Or even better, get down on the floor with them and encourage them to crawl towards you. Making it playful is absolutely key.
Okay, now for one of my absolute favorite parts. Because once they start moving, you quickly realize there's no single right way to crawl. Babies are just these incredibly creative little innovators.
And the variety is just amazing. You've got the classic hands and knees crawl, of course. Then there's the bear crawl with their bottom way up in the air. You've got the commando crawl on their belly like a little soldier. The adorable bottom scoot. The sideways crab crawl. And hey, some just decide that rolling is the most efficient way to get around. Every single one is a perfectly valid way for a baby to explore.
I love this quote from Dr. Klunk because it just sums it all up so perfectly. It really doesn't matter if your baby is doing the commando or the scoot. What matters is that they are exploring their world. And yeah, let's be honest, they are all equally cute.
So the real takeaway here is this. Try to focus less on the style of the crawl and more on the coordination. Are they using both of their arms, both of their legs? As long as your baby is coordinating both sides of their body, they're building really important brain connections and progressing beautifully. Okay, so once your baby is officially on the move, Your world, and let's face it, your job, changes quite a bit. Let's talk about safety, and also when you might want to check in with a doctor.
This becomes your new #1 priority. And the key here is to do it before they are fully mobile. Trust me, that first real crawl can take you completely by surprise. 1 second they're on the rug, and the next, they're halfway across the room.
So here's a quick checklist to get you started. First, all the electrical hazards. Cover up those outlets, tuck away any loose cords. Next, think about anything they could pop in their mouth. Do a sweep of the floor for small objects, and make sure any and all chemicals are locked up in high cabinets. And finally, go ahead and move any breakable items up to higher ground for a while.
This might be the single best piece of advice in this entire explainer. Seriously, get down on your hands and knees and actually see the world from their perspective. You will be absolutely amazed at the dangers you spot that you never ever noticed from 5 or 6 feet up.
Of course, it's totally natural to have some concerns along the way. And while we've established that not crawling isn't necessarily a problem, there are a couple of specific situations where, yeah, it's a good idea to check in with your pediatrician. There are really 2 main things to watch for. First, if your baby has lost a skill they once had, so for example, they were crawling and then they just stopped, that's worth a conversation. Second, if they've passed their first birthday and they're showing 0 interest in moving at all, no crawling, no scooting, no pulling up, that's a good time for a check-in.
We have covered a lot today. The timeline, all the crazy techniques, safety tips, but if you're going to take just one single thing away from all this, what should it be?
And this is it. The real goal isn't to just check crawling off some developmental list. It's to celebrate your child's completely individual path to discovery. Whether they're a classic crawler, a bottom scooter, or a bit of a late bloomer, what really matters is that they are learning, they're exploring, and they're growing. So just try to enjoy the journey.